telecom expert Roger Entner. He's founder and lead analyst of Recon Analytics. He's joining us now live from Newton, Massachusetts. I just want to first understand the 90-day reprieve. So if you're Huawei and you're told you've got 90 days to buy until you can no longer buy U.S. components, and those 90 days are going to expire on Monday, do you then rush to buy as much as you can? And what happens when you're told, okay, now you have another 90 days?
Well, Huawei already said that it has stockpiled critical components and has them in stock for at least a year. The importance is not only around the physical components that Huawei needs, but also the software licenses, especially around Google Android. And with new devices coming out before the Christmas season, it's absolutely critical for Huawei to be able to use Android. And the 90-day extension gets us right to November 15, and anything that will be launched before that. So the new Android devices from Huawei will have Android, actually.
Donald Trump likes to use the terms winners and losers here. You talked a little bit about what Huawei would achieve. Who's what in that context?
Well, Huawei is not only a pawn, it's actually a rook in this whole trade negotiation. And the Trump administration uses Huawei as a pressure tool and going right to the wire with extending the permit another 90 days and then another 90 days. It creates a lot of uncertainty and anguish on both sides, and especially for the markets that are looking at this and the possible repercussions.
We heard Peter Navarro there in Toby's report. He's, of course, no friend of China by any measure. He says Americans aren't feeling the effects of this trade war. Is that true in your opinion?
Well, the American consumer is right now not feeling the impact, because the 10% tariff is largely being absorbed by the importers, by the retailers, and partially also by the Chinese companies. So the impact has not been handed down to consumers. Now, when and if the tariffs go up to 25%, it is impossible for companies to absorb the increase in the tariffs, and then American consumers will really feel the impact, especially if the 25% are added to cell phones, to computers, most of them being built in China. Then suddenly you have increases of $200, $300, $500 on a device, and it becomes very painful.
You said that Huawei is being used as a pawn in the trade war. Do you think U.S. concerns against the Chinese company are valid or exaggerated?
Well, there are two sides on this. We have the trade side, which is can Huawei buy American equipment? And then we have the national security side. Does the United States buy Huawei equipment or allows American companies to do that? There are consistent concerns that Huawei works very closely with the Chinese government and has been sharing that. I can only rely on what is publicly known, but there are very consistent stories that this is true.
We know that Donald Trump has been pressuring the British to block Huawei's rollout of 5G there. The company's founder and CEO said that he's confident, just in the last few days, that they would still be able to proceed in the UK. Your thoughts?
Well, the UK is in a precarious situation because the Chinese government has been very clear that if the UK would block Huawei, there would be repercussions from China. And the UK is, losing friends, especially in Europe. So it needs all the friends that it can keep, whereas the American government is cheering them on and pushing them to do that. So the UK government is between a fire and the frying pan, and it's really not clear on how it will react.
And nobody wants to be fired or fried, of course. Roger Entner, thank you for joining us.